Alrighty, good morning. Okay, good morning. Sorry, we seem to have an issue with the internet, so I'm hoping this will behave and it'll be good enough. I'll be as quick as possible. And today my topic is around the issue of the 5 steps to destroying a nation or a society. And you need to understand that this method actually falls or comes from a very sinister presentation that was made by a lady called Bessant. Now, Bessant, for those of you that may not be familiar with, is one of the original disciples of Helen Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society. The Theosophical Society existed in the 1800s. It really took on a very strong stance in that period, and they did a lot of teaching around. It was, for me, the Theosophical Society and what it teaches is Gnosticism rebranded. So if you understand what Gnosticism is, then you will know that it is from the Gnostic teachings that, the whole idea of rebranding spirituality took place. In fact, it is Theosophy that really pushed the New Age agenda. So Madam Helen Blavatsky, a very powerful lady, an influencer, was one of the first teachers that came up in that movement. Now, there's been a number of other great leaders that came from that first dispensation, and Bessant is one of them. C.W. Leadbeater is another, or is it Leadbeater, whatever. And a number of other key teachers came out of that movement and wrote manuals that became very popular. Now, Bessant is someone who true theosophists say is a breakaway. So she's not like really a theosophist in the truest sense of the word. But whatever the case, if you study what she writes, she came up with a document, very powerful document, that she called the 10-point plan for the New World Order. And this 10-point plan has been followed very powerfully over the last couple of decades, and they've been very consistent in seeing it through. Now, it's so interesting that the other time I had the privilege of watching Brzezinski do a presentation, which I didn't know was from 1983, which talked about how to completely destroy a society or a nation from within. And these 5 steps, I will show you how they match with Bessant's 10-point strategy. Bessant, like I said, was a theosophist, a New Age advocate, and very much in the same circle as Mary Sanger and people like that. And if you don't know who Mary Sanger, or whatever her name was, Sanger is, you need to find out who the founder of Planned Parenthood is. Once you know who the founder of Planned Parenthood is, then you know that Sanger was that founder. And this woman advocated for abortion and other such programs, which then led to what we now see today. So these are very interesting people. The things that are now being advocated in the 10-point plan of the New World Order is exactly what you find advocated in the Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones are there. It's not something I'm making up. And if you go into the Humanism Charter, I'm not talking about the humanistic stance, but that's a whole different thing. Humanism is a religion, is a belief around the centering of man. Man becomes the center of everything. So if you go into that, you will discover that they did create a charter. So the Humanism Charter is very interesting. And when you check what the Humanism Charter says, you check what Bessant teaches in her 10-point plan for the New World Order, you check what the Georgia Guidestones say, you begin to see a pattern right across. And so when Brzezinski did his presentation in 1983, in which he talked about the 5 steps to destroying a nation or society, this thing all adds up. You have to be blind as a bat not to see how the dots are connecting. The dots do connect. And let me show you what, and by the way, Brzezinski was a guy, he was supposedly a defector. He was former KGB. Those of you who know your history know that basically from 1960, I think 2 or somewhere there, I can't remember, they had developed what was called the Cold War. And the Cold War happened because in Europe you had a dividing of two specific blocks, the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc. So the Western Bloc was NATO, and the Eastern Bloc was what was known as the Warsaw Pact. And the Warsaw Pact, so all those Eastern nations become controlled by Russia, and then commenced a very deadly 50-year Cold War. Some of the reasons why we saw the challenges we see in Africa was because these two giants, the Russians and the Americans, were at each other. And it was a very sinister period. And at one or two occasions, we should have had a full-fledged war, world war that breaks out. It didn't happen, but there was this undertone. So if you watch a lot of James Bond, you read a lot of those old books, you know, by guys like not Sidney Sheldon, but Frederick Forsyth, and a number of those early writers, Tom Clancy, you notice that the whole issue was around the Cold War, around all that spy stuff going on, and everybody stealing, kind of cheating each other or whatever. So that's what was going on in that period. It was a very deadly period. Now, this KGB defector moved to America, and when he moved to America, he then was lecturing at a number of places. So I caught one of his lectures where he was lecturing at a church. And he talked about the 5 steps to destroying a nation or society, which is what I'm going to show you just now. And then I'm going to share very quickly also Anne Bessant's 10 steps for the New World Order. So let me very quickly tell you what those 5 steps are. They are demoralize, destabilize, create crisis, degenerate to full war, and then normalize. So these are the 5 steps that would be used to completely subversively destroy a nation or a society. Because as a society stands, it's very difficult. You have to have a full-fledged direct war with them. But then in the Cold War, nobody really wanted that because of nuclear proliferation. I mean, a nuclear war wouldn't help anyone. So the strategy was you go into that society and destroy it from within. And it's very powerful. So in demoralization, this is where you see the 10-step plan work. Let me show you what the 10-step plan is real quick. So this paper was prepared by Madame Bessant, and she's called it How to Prepare the Way of the Antichrist, also known as the 10-point plan for the New World Order. The strategy is the 10-point charter of Alice Bailey, adopted by the United Nations. Amazingly. This is adopted by the UN. The purpose was to change the Judeo-Christian tradition or redeem the nations from Judeo-Christian tradition. And you know, that's the argument. And you notice that this has worked powerfully. Right now, let's just go into it. So number 1 was to take God and prayer out of the education system. Okay? She said, change curriculum to ensure that children are freed from the bondage of Christian culture. Why? Because children go to school to be equipped to face life. They are willing to trust and they are willing to value what is being given to them. If you take God out of the education, they will unconsciously form a resolve that God is not necessary to face life. They will focus on those things the school counts them worthy to be passed on, and they will look at God as an addition, if not one can even get rid of him altogether. And if you notice today, they introduce transcendental meditation in schools, which takes children to altered states of consciousness to meet with demons and the like. And that's all new age. Now they are pushing comprehensive sexuality education because they want to mess with their identity when it comes to the gender. They want to talk about gender fluidity. They want to talk about transgenderism. They want to talk about lesbian, gay, and all sorts of other madness rights. I mean, right now, if you see the letters that are adding up, you know what Q stands for? Stands for queer. I'm not even going to go into what that means. Just know that these people have a very sinister agenda, and they know you take God and prayer out, you're on your way. 2, reduce parental authority over children. She said, break the communication between a parent and a child. Why? So that parents do not pass on their Christian traditions to their children, which will then liberate children from the bondage of their parents' tradition. How? A, promote excessive child rights. You know what I'm talking about, right? 97 to 98, South Africa introduced child rights legislation, UNICEF Charter. Today, a child is able to say to parents, I do not want to hear that. I do not want to do what you're telling me. Teachers cannot talk to children. Children step up and say, I have my rights. You can't talk to me like that. And then B, abolish corporal punishment. This has been made law. We know that. On the other hand, the Bible says, do not withhold correction from a child. If you beat him with a rod, he will not die. You shall beat him with a rod and deliver his soul from hell. I think you saw for yourself. There's videos coming out of kids talking about, I'm going to shoot my mom, insulting them. There was a new video that came out where a little 10-year-old child was screaming at his parents, and they brought a child psychologist to calm the child down. The child was saying, I'll shoot you, I'll kill you, and using the most horrible words. A 10-year-old? You see, that's the chaos. These are the kids that later go and shoot everybody. And then you wonder, oh my God, how could they go shoot all the people? Yeah, that's because you took away the discipline. They know what they're doing. The people behind these things are evil people who know what they're doing. Okay? Jesus said in the last days, wickedness will increase. There will be rebellion, and children will not obey their parents. It's not a trend. It is organized. Wake up, somebody. C, teachers are the agents of implementation. From workshops, teachers tell children, your parents have no right to force you to pray or read the Bible. You are yourself. You have a right of your own. You need to discover yourself. You need to deal with self-expression, self-realization, self-fulfillment. Those are the buzzwords. And self-discovery of your sexuality. These are the things being taught. As we speak in the West, when a child is 7 years, the teachers begin to say to the child, you have a right to choose whether you want to follow the faith of your parents or not. Parents are not allowed to enforce their faith upon you. Question, what type of decision can a 7-year-old make? You see, these are the things that society is doing, and doing it powerfully. Number three, destroy the Judeo-Christian family structure or the traditional Christian family structure. Why? Here's the thing that this woman said. She said, it is oppressive that the family is the core of the nation. If you break the family, you break the nation. Liberate the people from the confines of this structure. How is that going to be done? 1, promote sexual promiscuity. Free young people to the concept of premarital sex. Let them have free sex. Lift it so high that the joy of enjoying sex is the highest joy in life. Fantasize it. And everybody will feel proud to be seen sexually active, even those outside marriage. And you know, this is what they're pushing in their films. This is what they're pushing on TV. This is what they're pushing on cartoons. Let's not even go on social media and the reels that are there. It's all sex everywhere. The music videos are literally programming subconsciously all these people. And then B, use advertising industry, media, television, magazines, film industry to promote sexual enjoyment as the highest pleasure in humanity. This is propaganda. They are pushing it every single day. And have they succeeded? Have they done it? If you want to see whether they have succeeded or not, go to the advertising industry. It does everything to catch your attention, and today almost no advert comes without a sexual connotation. Okay, even when they advertise ice cream, for crying out loud, they must show you a thigh of a woman in a bikini. They must do something to set off a trail of thoughts. They will show you more thighs than ice cream. Why? Because that is what is in the minds of people. The advertising industry is a multi-billion-dollar machine that shapes and controls ideas and culture with its propaganda from the New World Order. This is why, for example, you saw recently here in our own country, some influencer was parading half naked. You see, this is a process of demoralizing society. That's what they're doing. To demoralize means to take morality out of society. Number 4, if sex is free, then make abortion legal and make it easy. These are real plans sitting with the United Nations. Sorry about that, my internet went. Bessant said, build clinics for abortion, health clinics in school. If people are going to enjoy the joy of sexual relationships, they need to be free of unnecessary fears. In other words, they should not be hampered with unwanted pregnancies. Can you believe that? Abortion, as told by Christians, is oppressive and denies our rights. I know this because I'm quarreling with people on social media about this. We have a right to choose whether we want to have children or not. If a woman does not want a pregnancy, she should have the freedom to get rid of that pregnancy painlessly and as easy as possible. Today, abortion is not only accessible, but many times it may be forced. It is a strategy to curb population control together with the use of condoms and the pill. This is all part of what is called the eugenics agenda. You see, the problem is most people don't know that this is what the enemy is planning. This is all part of demoralization. Okay, so it's a eugenics agenda to wipe people off the face of the earth, because the Humanism Charter, the Georgia Guidestones, and even this 10-point plan sings one agenda, one story: population control, population control, population control. And you know what the Guidestones actually give us the guide for population? 500 million people worldwide. That's the goal. We are 8 billion. We're too many. That's why a lot of people actually dare say that there's a plandemic. It's not a pandemic, it's a plandemic. It is something planned. You bring and release all these diseases so that people die, because that's the aim. Reduce the population, get rid of human beings so that we have less people. And then now what do you do on the other side? Promote nature. And go to the Georgia Guidestones. They say maintain a population of 500 million human beings in harmony with nature. In harmony with... That's interesting. Why so much conservatism about the nature all of a sudden? I'm not saying that we shouldn't be responsible about nature, but at the expense of human beings, culling them, killing them, destroying them. So that's number 4. Number 5, make divorce easy and legal, free people from the concept of marriage for life. Okay? Alice wrote a long time ago, that love has got a mysterious link called the love bond. It is like an ovum that comes out from the ovaries. As it travels through your system, it clicks a love favor in you, and there's one other person in the world who can respond to that love bond. When you see that person, everything within you clicks. That is your man or woman. If you miss him, you'll never be happy until that love bond cycles past for many years. So for you to be happy, get that person at whatever cost. If it means getting him or her out of that marriage, get him or her out, so that they are your man or woman. It's a mistake for that person to be elsewhere. And if you go together for some time and find that love has died, don't be held in bondage by the Christian values. It will never come back. What you need is an easily arranged divorce, and allow another love bond to come forth, just like the ovum comes up, and when it comes forth, you'll enjoy love. Wow. That's why divorce is being made so easy now. Okay? Now, I'm not even going to start explaining about divorce. This is not the time. Number 6. Now, this is the one that for me shocked me when I learned it about 4 or 5 years ago. Listen to me. Number 6, 10-point plan for New World Order. Number 6, hear this well. Make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle. This stuff was written in the 1940s, somebody. 1940s. That's when they wrote this. Make homosexuality an alternative lifestyle. Alice Bailey preached that sexual enjoyment is the highest pleasure in humanity. No one must be denied and no one must be restricted how they enjoy themselves. People should be allowed in whichever way they choose or want, whether it's homosexual, and listen to this, or incest, or listen to this, or bestiality. Whew. As long as the two agree. This is heavy. I'm going to say this again, because this is why if you keep quiet as the church, if you keep quiet as a moral person, you are contributing to the destruction of the entire society. And this is not accidental. All this LGBTQ business going around right now, this is not accidental, my friend. This is not some random thing that's coming from nowhere. This is planned straight from the pit of hell. Number 6, I'll read it again. You gotta hear this part. People should be allowed in whichever way they choose, whether it is homosexuality or incest or bestiality, as long as the two agree. Do you know what the Q stands for in LGBTQ? It stands for queer. Queer means weird. It means out of the ordinary. That's where the whole fetishist movement comes from. You know, people being attracted to trees and being attracted to feathers and being attracted to feet and being attracted to some silly stuff that doesn't make any sense. You know, that's where queer comes from. So they all fall under the LGBTQ movement. Do you know what the I stands for, my friends? Yes. Incest. So me, if I want, I can have sex with my sister. My children can have sex with each other. It's all part of this alternative lifestyle. And the whole mother, son, father, daughter thing is coming up. These days, if you want to know how these people are working so strong to demoralize society, you look on those porn sites. There are categories. Some of those categories are mom, son, sister, brother. You see how they are pushing an agenda, an evil, wicked agenda, and they call it alternative lifestyles? That's what the I stands for. It stands for incest. So a son can have sex with his mother, a son can have sex with his stepmother. A father, daughter, and wife can have a three-way. Like, really? Really? May we never have such in this country in Jesus' name. That is unacceptable. I don't care. And you know what they've done? Many nations around the world are now passing laws that legalize homosexual and gay marriage. It is now classified as hate speech. So meaning what I'm doing right now or saying is hate speech, and it's becoming illegal for ministers of 501c organizations to mention homosexuality as an abomination in the eyes of God or to read scriptures publicly that talk about homosexuality. Today the church is expected to marry gays and lesbians. According to the Bible, this is an abomination. It's an abomination. But you see, they are gagging. That's why our leaders have to be very careful with what they sign. Because you are going to find you're signing documents that say, hey, you signed this document, you got paid. You can't talk that way. You can't allow your pastors to be saying that. But it's in the Bible. No, the Bible is old-fashioned. Get rid of those verses and passages. It's hate speech. And then the worst part, they take biblical symbols like the rainbow, such a wonderful symbol of God's covenant with man, and turn it into a symbol for LGBTQI. God in heaven. Oh, by the way, there's a 2+ at the end of I. You know what the 2+ stands for? Two spirits. You know what the two spirits stand for? There are these people, apparently, according to traditional beliefs, there are people who are like both genders. Like spiritually, they feel like they're both a man and a woman. So almost like pansexuals, you know. I don't know what the heck that is, but pansexuals. So they go around, I'm a man, I can be a man, and I can be a woman when I feel like it. So you notice a lot of forms today say, would rather not say. So male, female, would rather not say. Anyway. Number 7, debase art, make it run mad. Alice Bailey understood that the arts are the primary key to changing culture. How did she do it? Promote new forms of art which will corrupt and defile the imagination of people, because art is the language of the spirit. That which is inside, you can bring out in painting, music, drama. Look at the quality, spirituality, and message of art, music, and films that are coming out. They are now debased. They are evil, evil, evil. And what they're doing, they're taking literal pornography and saying it's art. And the funny thing is, they started doing this a long time ago. I mean, you find art. They say this is David. The art, the statue of David is naked, a little boy. He's a little boy and he's naked. And this thing is sitting in the middle of some religious place. It's the statue of David, naked. Then you've got the statue of Zeus. But they change, they don't call it Zeus anymore. They call it Peter. But it's naked. At the hour, in the statue of Peter. Naked. Let me tell you, those were gods. Those were Roman gods. In the Roman period, homosexuality ran rampant in that culture. It destroyed the entire Roman kingdom. Some of the kings were so debased, homosexually speaking, and debauched that they had to be literally erased from the records because of the horrible things they did. If you want to understand what I'm talking about, you get a movie called Caligula. Caligula was one of those 2.5-hour difficult to watch as hell films made in the 70s which depicted the life of Caligula. And the directors decided to really take some freedoms in making that film. It's a horrible film. I consider myself a movie guy. I did not finish it. I said, this movie is horrible. I just stopped it. Because every horrible debauchery, and the scariest part, they said this was real. This is what Emperor Caligula was doing. Emperor Caligula was so bad that the Romans literally had to do the whole memorize whatever thingy on him. They had to blot his name out of all the records because he was such a horrible Caesar that did the most debauched, licentious, demeaning, horrible things. He took sensuality to excess. That's the Roman Empire for you. And that's why you see that even when we got into the papacy, there was a lot of challenges with many of the papacy and the church people because they were still fighting this culture of debauchery and horrible things going on. Sodomy, homosexuality, different forms of incest. I mean, the list is so long. Horrible stuff. Horrible stuff. Okay? Number 8, use media to promote and change mindset. Alice Bailey said, the greatest channel you need to use to change human attitude is media. Use the press, radio, TV, cinema. You can tell today how successful they have been implementing the plan over the last 60 years. Via media as well as advertising agencies, billboards and magazines. Who controls the media? Answer, the New World Order. Listen, so much money is pumped into media and advertising and the spreading of violence, pornographic material and other sources. Sex outside marriage is normal. 80 to 90% of the times, they're just throwing this on you. And then promiscuity is being promoted as cool. You watch gay sex on TV in homes where children's minds are being neutralized to the sin and sensitivity of gayness. I mean, they took it to a whole new level now. Superheroes, the Eternals, Marvel Comics, people, this is an industry we love so much. Everybody watches these superheroes. Oh, superheroes. Now, the new superheroes, the Eternals, there's a gay couple there. One of the gods is gay. Like, wow, like really? I mean, they've really pushed that agenda. There is no TV series on most secular television shows on American shows that you don't have a gay character. And what they do is they use jamming. So they make the gay character as sympathetic. You have sympathy for them because they're going through oppression or whatever it is. And then you feel sorry for them. And then yet they're gay. So you say, well, they're not a bad guy. That's a very smart way of what we call jamming. You use a good character and you give them this gay thing. And then you take a Christian and you give them this horrible character. Christian, but always bigoted, talking bitterly, judging, and even promoting death. This is how they twist your thinking in the movies so that you actually start to see good as bad and bad as good. I'm going to have to stop there because my time will not permit me. We really have to call it a day. But I want you to understand that when it comes to the 5 steps, when you've demoralized, in 20 years' time, you have people that you have society broken down. There are no men leading homes. There are no stable families anymore. You have bitter, angry, enraged sons and daughters who have no parents to talk about. You have mothers that are bitter because the men didn't rise up to the occasion. You have men that have been incarcerated. You have men that have been disenfranchised. Dysfunction becomes the norm. When you have such a setup, you have managed to destroy the fabric of society. You have more criminals. You have more evil things going on. That's your key to begin demoralizing. Now what follows next is destabilization. Because there are no men to rise to the occasion, because there are no role models to lead what is right and to speak what is right. The quality and characteristic of society is rotten from the inside. This is what leads to destabilization. Every great kingdom destabilized internally because they were no longer able to uphold the values that made that nation so strong. Discipline is a pillar of a strong nation. Order is a pillar of a strong nation. Integrity is a pillar of a strong nation. Good role models and strong leaders is a mark of a great nation. But when these things disappear because of the demoralization, those societies destabilize. They break from within. And so the whole thing destabilizes, breaks. Then you start having situations come up. This is when now they create a crisis. And what do you need to create a crisis? Make sure people cannot get the basics. So make sure that this demoralization and destabilization leads to the failure to find the basics. What are the basics? 1, food on the table. 2, and not just food on the table, 3 square meals. 2, no clothes on their back. 3, no shelter. I assure you, especially number 1, if they cannot find food to put food on the table, if they cannot protect their children by making sure they provide, healthcare and all the basics, education, if these things are no longer available, you begin to create a crisis because you start to have angry people. And what essentially happens is a very clear divide of classes happens, the haves and the have-nots. These have-nots, it's a matter of time before the ball breaks. These people get mad. And all you need is a spark. All you need is something to just drop in there so that the whole thing explodes. When it explodes, it degenerates to a full war. How do you get a war? That's when now the big brothers and people say, let's go help liberate them. It's a very familiar story. So they send all their weapons and all their soldiers. They come into that country. They kill everyone. They destroy everything. That's how you destroy a country. Then you reduce it into a Libya. You reduce it into an Iraq. You reduce it into an Afghanistan. You reduce it into a Syria. That's what they do. You reduce it into a Congo DR. You reduce it into a Liberia 15, 20 years ago. Then at that stage, then they normalize. How do you normalize? You bring in martial law. You bring in, think of Rwanda. You bring in martial law. You bring in tough leadership, usually dictators, and you get rid of any rights at that point. You have to use force. And everybody will say, yeah, no, we need the force because you see, there's so much disorder. This, my friends, is called Hegelian dialect. Most people don't even know what I'm saying when I say Hegelian dialect. It is the idea that you start with an idea, with another concept opposite of what you want. You destroy that concept and use the destruction and chaos to then create a new concept which you want. My friends, at a world level, we are the victims of a Hegelian dialect. At an African level, we are the victims of a Hegelian dialect. And let me tell you, even at national level, Christian or not, covenanted by God or not, if you do not stand and make sure you protect and keep our morality as a nation, believe me, we will go down a Hegelian dialect in about 20 years' time. You do not want that. Your children will be something else completely. Our children will be something else completely if people don't make a stand. So there are your 5 steps to destroying a nation. Be smart, be wise. You heard from me. God bless you.